I'm Judy Stiles. Thank you for joining us today on Newsmakers. Today we're focusing on the Missouri Southern State University Board of Governors. And earlier this year I interviewed Dr. Alan Marble, who announced his plans for retirement. Well, the Board of Governors have the honor of trying to choose a successor. So joining me today we have Bill Gipson and Alison Hershewe from the board. Thank you for being here today.
Thanks for having us.
And I know we're going to talk today a little bit about the process of replacing or finding a new president for the university, but I think we need to start off perhaps with just some basic information for our audience. When someone says, tell me about the Board of Governors, how do you define that as the president and the chair of the board?
Well, you know, it's really the policy-making entity for the university. Mm-hmm. And, you know, we're all selected or appointed by the governor and confirmed by the Missouri State Senate, but we've got a number of things that we, you know,
you have some official roles in the board.
We do, and first and most importantly is the appointment of the president. Right. And then secondly is, you know, the budget, academic programs, the approving and authorizing degrees, tuition fees and rates, authorizing any indebtedness for the university, things of that nature.
Okay, so really the business side of the executive level of the business side of the university, tying that together. Well, you mentioned appointed by the governor. So members of the board the governor appoints those members each year.
That's right. Not each year.
So you have certain terms for them.
Right. Mm-hmm. The maximum term for a governor is 6 years, and you can serve 2 terms. Mm-hmm. Most of us came on the board when an individual retired or resigned or something of that nature. I came on in 2014 replacing an individual that had resigned early, and then I was reappointed by Governor Greitens for a second full 6-year term. We have 8 members, 3 from Newton County, 3 from Jasper County, and then Governor Oplotnik and I come from outside of that, what used to be the 32nd Senatorial District.
So there's some specific guidelines for the governor to follow when he appoints people to the board.
Yeah, you know, like I said, there's 8 of us. Mm-hmm. 6 need to come from what was at the time that the university obtained university status, and the Board of Governors replaced the Board of Regents. Right. And I might miss 1 or 2, but it's Barton, Dade, Berry, Lawrence, Jasper, Newton, and McDonald. Mm-hmm. So that was the 32nd Senatorial District at the time. So 6 members come from that area. Today we have 6 from Jasper, 6 from Newton, and no more than 3 come from any one county. Mm-hmm. And then the other 2 individuals need to come from outside of that area. And like I said, that's Governor Oplotnik and I.
And you're representing one of the local counties then?
Yes, I live in Newton County, and of course I attended Missouri Southern, so I don't know if that was a bonus or not when my name got suggested, but I was an alum, and so
both of you have ties to Missouri Southern.
We're both alums, as are 4 others on the board. Governor Oplotnik, Anita Rank was her maiden name, and she actually played basketball here, and most recently announced that she's going to be inducted in the Missouri State Hall of Fame.
Right, the Sports Hall of Fame coming up. That's
and then Governor Haley is an alum. Governor Richard, who's new to the board, is an alum, and Governor Elliott attended both Drake University and Missouri Southern, but we claim him as an alum.
Right. So that gives you an additional, I imagine as an alum, a sense of pride to now be representing the university in this capacity.
Yeah, to give back to what was given to us, I think, is my thought. I've heard others echo it.
Well, we have some video, I think, from a board meeting recently, the November board meeting, and some people who've never actually been there kind of see you have a board meeting room and you meet every other month. It's a bi-monthly, right?
Actually, we just changed that, Judy, not too long ago. It's not quite every other month. It's 5 times a year now. And those are June, September, November, January,
So during
March.
kind of the academic time.
Yeah, you know, we already weren't meeting the months of December and May because of commencement. Right. And so we gave it some serious consideration about really how often does the Board of Governors need to meet, and this board settled on 5, and of course that's a part of the bylaws, and subsequent boards may choose to meet more often than what this board has chosen, but 5 times seems to be working well for us right now.
And you have some specific bylaws, some guidelines for the board to follow.
That's right, yes.
When you come aboard. Yeah. The meetings themselves, when people watch the meetings, they can see that the structure that's involved. You have the board members, but then you also have representatives from the administration on campus.
Yeah, we have, we have faculty senate, student senate, and staff senate, as well as what I would call the executive management of the university. You know,
the various vice presidents.
Yeah, academic affairs vice president and provost, Dr. Carson, and then Mr. Fullerton used Mr. Bruggeman, Dr. Hodson, etc.
So they give reports, and of course the video we're seeing here was this past meeting when Ron Richard joined the board. So
yeah, Ron came on. Governor Richard and Governor Morgan, Marianne Morgan from Carthage, just came on the board at this last meeting.
So the vacancies are filled by the governor as they come up, as people resign or finish their terms.
That's right.
Tying that together. So you have the meetings that are the open sessions where you saw the members presenting their reports, but you have a lot goes on behind the scenes. People don't realize that. I know I would look at your announcements about the meetings. You have meetings all morning before you come to the 1 o'clock meeting in the afternoon.
And those too are open meetings that the public can attend for the most part.
Right.
Yeah.
Except for.
Yeah, we have. You know, the two real active, well, except for this year, we have 3 very active committees this year, but in what I would call a normal year, one where we're not, you know, seeking to replace the...
Right, you're not hiring a new president.
We're not hiring a new president. We have the Academic Affairs Committee that Governor Hershewe serves on, and then the Budget and Audit Committee that I serve on. And those meet in the morning, and those do what I would call the lion's share, no pun intended, but the lion's share of the work of the board, where the bulk of the details are discussed for each of those. And then, of course, one very active committee coming up, well, it's already started, is the Personnel Compensation Committee that Governor Hershewe chairs.
Right.
I think there was always a Personnel and Compensation Committee, but they didn't have a whole lot of business, and now they do.
Now they have. Right. Well, the Academic Affairs Committee, the Academic Committee, when we hear about the faculty making proposals for classes, and it goes through the Academic Affairs Office on campus, then it comes to the committee of the board?
Right, and I served on the Academic Affairs Committee and was chair of that committee for a short time, and that's the one that really sets curricula and policy and listens to the minute detail of what the faculty wants to accomplish in, you know, educating students to the best of, you know, keeping up with the foundation or the new trends, but also the foundational learning components that are essential to a university education.
I imagine that committee has been busy in the last few years because the state was making changes that the university had to fall in place
with. And we need to make sure we meet our mission, but also fulfill the guidelines from the state. And for the most part, that's been a good thing. I think that the last board meeting, we heard a presentation about the new civics requirement, and it sounds like, and we worked on it in committee, and Mrs. Fordham heading that up has done an admirable job and enacted that, and now it's part of our curricula, and we're excited about it. And again, we're educating students not only from this region but from the state, so they need to be well versed in the state civics.
So the civics is an important part of how Missouri Southern has adapted to that new requirement from the state and tying that together. You mentioned the budget side of things, and I know a lot of times when people go to the board meetings, if they watch them on TV or whatever, you're talking about, you know, the dollars and cents of the university. How are we doing on money?
Yeah, you know, and I will say that the Budget and Audit Committee do get, in the months that we don't meet, the Budget and Audit Committee get reports from our treasurer, Linda Ice, on, well, you know, the financial statements, the balance sheet, or not called the balance sheet here, it's called the statement of net position, but also the income statement. So we get to review those in the months that we don't meet, but, you know, go over them in detail at the budget meeting, as well as meet with auditors, meet with you know, the investment bankers. I'm just thinking of this last meeting when we approved when the full board approved the bonds that the university is going to
for the new residence
hall.
hall.
For the new residence hall. That first came to the Budget and Audit Committee for review.
Right. So the fiscal responsibility of the board is a big task. You have to really make sure that we're not losing money, we're succeeding.
It is.
And it's one we share, of course, with the Missouri State Legislature.
Yeah, that's right.
For better or worse.
And so for our students, faculty, and staff watching, when it comes time when you have discussion about tuition, it comes back to the board.
It does. First to the Budget and Audit Committee, where we go over what management has, I say management, what administration has proposed in terms of, the desired outcome and for revenue, coupled with the other, sources of revenue, which Governor Hershewe mentioned is certainly the state appropriation, but also the scholarships and gifts and things of that nature. So pour over that in the Budget Committee and then bring it to the full board for further discussion. Then actually any approvals are made by the full board.
The full board votes on those changes. And that's another area that's seen a lot of changes because funding from the state has changed tremendously over the few years.
Yeah, and we were lucky with the Empowering You initiatives that the university initiated under Dr. Marble that really first looked at expenses and those kinds of things, and now is grown and become part of the culture here, and is kind of moved to the next step of looking to academic initiatives.
Right.
And that's something the board was very well versed on, understanding how that was going to work.
Yeah, it really happened when it came to fruition when Governor McCumber, who just left the board a couple of years ago, when he was chairman of the board, when Dr. Marble brought that to his attention, and the board got behind it, and as Governor Hershewe said, it's been very successful, particularly on the fiscal side, but now, very importantly, making that transition to the academic.
It was formerly known, I think, as the Great Game of Education, and received some national and international recognition.
It did. I got to go to Dallas and get a trophy on behalf of the university.
So now the focus is on what can we do for that successful academic side of our students.
Yeah, and not that we aren't already, but it's really that looking at the micro improvements that can be made in every department, every day.
Right. So that across-the-board approach, that it's not just somebody here, it's everybody kind of work together on this team approach to things and tying that together.
And of course, transparency, I think, is one of the foundations of the initiative.
Keeping everybody involved and tying that together. Well, let's turn to the presidential search. I know I interviewed Dr. Marble in August. It was shortly after he made his announcement to the faculty and staff at the meeting that he was going to retire at the end of the current fiscal year. The board then has the task of proceeding with the plans to find a successor.
Yeah, and I'm going to defer to Governor Hershewe on this. Governor Hershewe is the vice chair of the board and also the chair of the Personnel and Compensation Committee, and she is chairing the search committee.
Okay. So you have a specific committee on the board, members who are working on this process.
Personnel and Compensation, and so the Presidential Search Committee is not necessarily a board committee, although it contains 4 members of the board. It's going to work with the board and be a advisory committee to the board, and it comes from 10 separate organizations, and the university side is that is the Faculty Senate, the Staff Senate, the Student Senate, the Linebackers, Alumni Association, the Foundation, Empowering You Group. We want to hear from their voices. So each of those organizations chose representatives that will meet as a committee and with the 4 board members, not to make any binding decisions, not to hire the president, but basically to communicate to us what they want. We've also have members from the Joplin Chamber and the city of Joplin, because the university has become such a big player, I think, in the region and the economics of the region, and we want to hear from everybody. And we wish we could all be here on campus. It's a lovely day today. It was a good day to come to campus. But the 8, Board of Governors can't be on campus to talk to the students and talk to each of, and we want to hear from them, and we will hear from them individually, but those nominations from that will help us on the presidential search committee will just kind of sift through information that we get from outside sources about applicants and bids and those type of things, right. But they will also listen to the people they represent. The Faculty Senate will bring to us what members of the faculty want. We thought, you know, again, we want to hear from everybody, but those particular constituencies and having their voices in who we get to serve as the next president is important to us.
So, for example, the Faculty Senate might ask the faculty to try to, what qualities are you looking for the next president? What are some of the things that we would need to have from that
Exactly. Person? You said it better than I did.
So
Thank you.
They'll be bringing that back as this presidential search committee. So as far as that committee meeting, what do you see as far as the frequency of doing things, meetings, getting together?
Well, at this point, we hope to meet at least twice before Christmas, or not before Christmas, before the next board meeting. Okay. I'm sorry. Okay. Once before Christmas and once after. Don't know that we'll get that done, but that's the goal. Because we have started to receive bids from various search firms, and we'll need to sift through that information and see who we think is up to bringing us the quality of candidates that we want to see.
And that's something maybe explaining for the audience. When you say a search firm, the role of a search firm in hiring a president, how do you define that for someone?
Well, this particular board got fairly lucky in this. The previous Board of Governors, when when President Marble was hired, had developed a request for proposal for an executive search firm to bid on the work of, assisting the university in finding the next president. The university was not in as good a financial condition at that point in time, and so that board decided not to follow through with hiring a search firm. At our September meeting, the board authorized management to solicit requests for proposals, and we received 6, and that'll be the first work of the committee that Governor Hershewe chairs, is to review those, and maybe over the course of a couple of meetings can then go back to the Board of Governors with a recommendation on which company to hire.
And those companies are the ones that really would have the resources and the time to find the top level people that you're looking for.
Exactly. We are an all volunteer board, so we would envision, of course we won't know till who's chosen, that they will do the necessary background checks and gathering the academic credentials, to verify things on the application, as well as bring candidates that we may have not have thought of, but some we may have thought of too, but they will kind of be the funnel, even if it's someone that's not necessarily familiar with that search firm. If an outside or inside candidate comes to us and says, I would like to be considered,
goes through their channels, basically.
Exactly. The board, of course, can verify any of the information independently, but they'll kind of streamline it for us, is what we envision happening.
So in terms of the search, we would say it's a national search. It's
absolutely. Absolutely. There's no foregone conclusion in terms of who will be the next president of the university.
So you're opening up all possibilities for this.
That's right.
That's the number one. That's, if you look at the bylaws, the powers shall include but not limited to, that's point the president. So the most important thing that this Board of Governors does is selection of the president.
And one thing that I heard Governor Gipson say that kind of inspired me to accept his appointment in the role, and I won't say it as well as he does, is the Board of Governors in general, each of the individuals has been active in the community and in volunteer charitable initiatives all along, but the role the university plays in the community is an important one, and so choosing a leader that can take us from where we are and give us momentum and move forward to be of benefit to the whole Southwest Missouri region is
it's a big task.
Big purpose, but one that we want to do well and feel like we did well and contribute to the good not only of the university but to the community.
So the impact on the community as you look at hiring someone.
It's a decision that will touch literally thousands of lives.
I know you have a specific mission for the university, so is that also helping you in guiding as far as you look at people and we have this mission and what we want to accomplish?
Certainly.
I think that everything goes back to the mission basically with every decision. It may not be as, step by step, but that's always our guiding, and if we ever get off track, that's what we need to go back to.
A lot of effort was put into revising that mission.
Yeah, it was a lot of meetings.
And we have a December graduation. This is a big task, but I don't want to say like we're selfless, because we do get to attend the graduations, and that's the reward for it, is seeing all those students come across stage and hear what they've done and the various places they've been and impacts they've made. It's really awesome.
It is.
There's a lot of news that you can share as board members about what Missouri Southern students are doing as you meet out in the community as well. Then.
Oh yeah, the other night I was fortunate enough to get to go to the scholarship reception and dinner, and my hat is off to the university the administration that put that together. A few years ago, I went to the same function, and I bet we didn't have 6 tables total, and they weren't all full. And the other night, we had 500 people in Young Gymnasium, because that's about the biggest place.
The biggest gathering place.
The biggest gathering place. And it was scholarship donors and scholarship recipients. It was just a real special evening to be able to visit with those students, and they're absolutely the reason that all 8 of us are involved in the university at this level.
And I think at the last board meeting, it was very interesting to me that one of the reports, as you said, one of the reports from the Student Affairs Committee was telling us how many and percentages that were first generation college students, the first one in their family and extended family to have had the opportunity to attend a 4-year university. And it's a big number, and I can't remember the percentage, perhaps Bill does. But then somebody asked for a show of hands, and a lot, I didn't count, but a lot of the Board of Governors were first generation. So to think that we're, not we as the board, but that the university is giving that opportunity to students is real special.
So you can see how it's benefiting those students, and being able to be at commencement and see them shake hands, receive that diploma, and be part of that process.
It's an exciting day, and one coming up here in a couple of weeks.
That's right, coming up in December, they'll be able to walk across that stage and do that. So keeping in touch with the university, I know both of you are very active, and coming to different programs and things on campus. That's one role of Board of Governors people may not realize. That it's more than I'm going to come to meetings. I'm there for these events. I'm there to cheer people on, to support them.
If we came to every event, we would have to, pitch a tent or
There's always something happening.
Get a room in one of the residence halls on campus. So there's plenty of opportunity for us to meet faculty, students, staff, and the other people in the community that are part of the university. One of my favorite ones is the academic awards program. That's a special night. And most recently, the scholarship reception.
And again, as this going back to the presidential search, as it goes forward, just because students, faculty, staff, community members are not officially on any chosen committee, we want to hear from everybody's voices.
So you're seeking,
as much as we can, every board member. We might not be able to reply back or give them the information they want, because we are governed by certain things in employment decisions, but we want to hear what they have to say and their input.
So what do you anticipate as far as a timetable? We're, turning the corner, 2020 coming around, and July will be here, 7 months later, or six months later.
Well, the reporter for Globe, Emily Yonker, asked me that the board after the September board meeting, and I said we're not going to let a calendar force us into, try to pigeonhole us into any kind of decision. We want to do this with deliberation. We want to do our due diligence. We want it to be a well thought out and well reasoned decision, and sooner rather than later, but not for the just to meet a calendar.
Right. So
and not just to hire someone if they're not the right calendar.
Right.
So you've
candidate.
Long process, perhaps, of vetting the candidates, looking at the options, and getting the feedback.
Right.
Yeah.
And working together.
Again, and to build on the success of Dr. Marble,
Yeah. No kidding.
he's really done an unbelievably great job in the board's opinion, and I think that's echoed in the official evaluations of Dr. Marble. So we want to build on those successes, and nobody's going to be a clone, but he's given us a good example of the type of leader we need for the university.
I think one of the things that, there's a lot of things about Dr. Marble that impressed me personally, but I think one of the things in terms of his management style and the way he embraces the model of shared governance on campus. I think that's one of the things that impresses me most. He's very good with all aspects, the two primary aspects, the budget and audit and the academic affairs. He's very good at those things, but the way that he can bring everybody sort of into the fold, it impresses me.
So that's a firm foundation for you.
That's a difficult task to manage in that kind of environment. It's different. It's certainly different from the business model I'm accustomed to.
From the corporate world versus the higher education world.
Yeah. Right. And if I could speak to the elephant in the room here, and Bill may kick me, but I wasn't a member of the board, and I don't think Governor Gipson was either, but there was one search at the university that many considered a mistake. Mistakes were made. I have no doubt that the members of the board at that time went into that search with all the best intents, just as we are, and people were disappointed that the outcome wasn't good, and then that person was ultimately, and I don't even know how he left the university, but he's not here, and that's how Dr. Marble got here. So we're listening to that, and we're aware of those, and I think, but we can't let that the tail wag the dog. We want to be aware, and we want to listen to people's concerns, because I think there are members on faculty and staff that were here then and we weren't, that have legitimate concerns, and they are invested and involved in having a place of employment and to work that they can do their best. So we want to listen to them, but we also, again, want to build on the successes, and that's important to us. The board that hired Dr. Marble, we want to do as well as them.
That's right.
Well, I'd like to thank both of you for sharing with the audience and with me today and giving us some insight, and look forward to following up as the process continues throughout the year.
Well, thank you for having us.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I'd like to thank you, the viewers, for joining us. I'm Judy Stiles. Hope you can join me again next week. We'll see you then.